Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome to tea time. I didn't get a chance to say my little prayer before tea time, so I'm actually going to say it right now and I'm going to say it live with you guys. So this is a little prayer that I say to myself every time. Hey, Delilah. Every single time I show up for tea time and before I do any other videos or when I do social gatherings or when I do live coaching calls. So yeah, and it's from A Course in Miracles, and this is how it goes. I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. So saying that prayer helps with the anxiousness, the worrisome, the doubt kind of just fall over a little bit out of my control. So I also wanted to say a prayer, and this is from Jesus Always. And I feel like it could be relatable to what's going on in the world today. And it can also be very controversial at the same time. So if you connect with it, great. If you don't, that's totally okay too. And this is how it goes. So from Jesus Always, this is how it goes. So trust me and don't be afraid. Do not be frightened by world events or news reports. These reports are biased, presented as if I do not exist. News clips show tiny bits of world events from which the most important factor has been carefully removed: my presence in the world. As journalists sift through massive amounts of information, they strain out everything about me and what I'm accomplishing on Earth. Whenever your world is feeling like a scary place, turn to me and encourage yourself in my presence. You also can find courage through remembering who I am. Ponder my awesome glory and power. Delight in my unfailing love. Rejoice that you are on an adventurous journey with me and your ultimate destination is heaven. As you keep focusing on me and enjoying the rich relationship I offer you, fear will subside and joy will rise up within you. Trust in me wholeheartedly, beloved, for I am your strength and your song. Hey, Amber. So, yeah, again, this might connect with you and this might not connect with you. So I wanted to actually go off a little bit from this and like my week with hearing the events that were happening this week with Roe and Wade being overturned. And when I woke up to hear those news, and when I woke up and I was on social media and I was like listening to people's opinions and perspectives and listening what had just happened, I felt a little scared and worried and a whole lot of like, what the fuck is going on in the world? It seemed and it felt like we were going backwards. And I made a video about it, like sharing more of my perspective and just like I have no call to action. Like I'm just, what are we doing? You know? And there's this core belief that I have that everything is perfect. And the spiritual guru, the spiritual leader that I follow, one of his teachings is that everything is perfect, even if we don't understand it. And I know, again, same like the prayer, it can be super controversial to say that or to believe that or to have a conversation about that. But I've been trying to focus on that core belief of mine these last couple of days. Hey, music. Hey, Veronica. How are you guys doing? Happy Thursday. I don't have a tea. I have today a green juice that my partner gave me. So thank you. But yeah, so how are you guys doing? If you guys are open to share also what's been going on this week with you, with the news that, you know, kind of rocked our nation, even like the gun violence and everything, or just your week, your work, anything. But today I really wanted to talk about the shoulds of, again, like the world, the shoulds that are in the back of our head from our family and from our close friends sometimes, and kind of dive into it. I had a therapy session last night and it was around this concept of should and how heavy it feels. And many of you connect with age, many of you don't, and I don't. I'm usually like, I'm only getting younger and I'm excited to get a little bit wiser every year. But it's been hitting being close to 30 and thinking how I had all these expectations on myself in my early 20s, and realizing how being in my 30s is literally around the corner, and how those expectations or those shoulds aren't what I thought when I was in my 20s. And also this should of family and what family thinks it's best for you in your life, and their own expectations and their own weight. And hey, Susie. And then also even friends. Sometimes our closest friends have their own perspectives and their own expectations of what you should be doing and how you should be living your life. And I really wanted to talk about that today. Like, how many of you guys relate to that? And yesterday I had this session and I could feel blocks of shoulds being chained on my ankle. And I heard my family a lot, and I heard close friends. And in the session but I chose to break them down. There was a point in the session where I realized the blocks and I felt like giving up. I was just like, like, it's so heavy and I feel like I want to fly and I just can't. And it felt like I just wanted to drop to the floor and sit with the weight and just feel that, again, feeling of giving up. And I did. I totally did. I dropped to the floor and I sat there and I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. Like, I give up. It's too heavy. It's too much. Like, I just can't do it. And in the session, it was this space of, I'm ready to release it. I'm so ready to release these shoulds and take my power in that space of how this is my life and I get to choose how I get to live my life and show up wherever I'm at and be accepting of it. So in the session, it was like breaking down the shoulds, like my family's should came into place, and I was breaking it down, and I had these mantras just come through of who I am my own person. I am not gonna live up to your expectations. I get to choose how I want to live my life. And then a friend came through and the same thing, right? That one felt a little bit more scarier, but it was this space of also breaking down this block. And as I was breaking it down, it came through as I'm accepting of where I am in my own life, and I get to choose again, right? Where I am and who I am and how I'm my own person. So if you guys have any questions about like how this therapy works, I've mentioned it before in other videos, how the therapy that I do is Ruben Field Synergy, which is somatic experiencing, which I'm super, super passionate about. And yeah, so I broke down that block, and then it became like the rest of the world and breaking down those blocks as well. And afterwards, it felt so freeing, and it literally felt like a huge breath of fresh air to release these shoulds and to have this like strong ass conviction and the strong ass feeling of how this is my life and I get to choose what choices are for me, and I get to choose what's best for me, and I get to choose my own path and the path that I'm walking on. And it's very empowering it's one thing, again, that I've mentioned before in videos, where it's one thing to get it logically and to go through it with our mind, but it's a whole other thing to feel it in our bodies and to feel the conviction and the empowerment in our bodies. So, hey Tala. So a question for you guys is, how many of you guys feel like you should be doing something, or you should be somewhere else, or a should, or you hear a lot of shoulds from your own family and friends in the back of your mind? So yeah, I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and this should popped up, of where she should be at, and how there's other close friends who are somewhere else in their journey, and it's this feeling of like I should be there too. And just thinking about that too, because I've also felt that way, where I really felt it too when I came back from Vietnam, and a lot of friends that I went to college with, or acquaintances that I went to college with, were graduating with their masters, and there was a feeling of like, oh, like I should have done that. I should have done that, and that's where I would have been right now. And what I did to practice to release that is going back to like our own path, where we all are very different, and we all have unique paths, and we all have unique experiences, and we all have different beliefs and values, and even the way that we show up to our life. So it's like, of course, every journey, every path is going to look different, and it's how do we stand in our own path and honor that path and stay grounded in that path. And of course it's going to happen, right? Like, we're humans, we're always going to be like, oh, let me take a little peek on that path or this other path. But it's like, how do you think we can stay grounded in our own path? Susie said all the time. Yeah. So something that for me that I've been practicing and doing is really just being in the present moment with what's going on in my life, and being in the present moment of my life, and also repeating and asking myself, like, what do I want? And it's this question that I started asking myself a while back, and it's like a life-changing question of getting grounded with what you want. And aside from, again, like what our family wants, what our friends want, what the world wants, is being grounded and asking yourself the question of what do I want? And even if you don't take action on it, just making room for it and listening to that space. And yeah, and just being in the moment. And we were talking about gratitude yesterday too, where it's like being grateful for even like the little things in your life, in the path that you're in. It could be the little things of just the abundance or the prosperity that you already have, but because you're so focused over here that you don't even take a look at it. So it's really creating the time to bring energy and focus into that space. So it's like little things, right? Like a roof over your head, like a paycheck every 2 weeks, like your kids, like the love that you have in your life, your friendships. It can be, I don't know, like making your bed every morning, and focusing your intention on that. And it's like the more you focus your intention and your energy on that, the more the abundance and the prosperity will come through. And I want to mention something too that my therapist said, and this is also like her words of being in the moment and focusing on gratitude. It's something that I've shared before too, and then yesterday she said it, and it was like such a great reminder of, yeah, like I'm focusing on lack and I'm focusing on where I'm not, and I want to reshift, you know, my my energy, my focus. But two things that I want to share that she shared with me is that, one, she said that a while back she started to work on taking away the word should from her life. And rather than having this narrative or this conversation of I should be doing this, I should do that, I should XYZ, it's I choose to do this, or I choose not to do this. And how, like, just saying it right now, like, it does feel different, where it's like I cut off. Am I back? I had a phone call, so I kind of disconnected there for a little bit. But yeah, so the energy, right? So you practice it for yourself, guys, and you feel it yourself, where how when you start a conversation or your narrative is I should, there is a feeling of lack, a feeling of maybe desperation, a feeling of maybe doubt, or, and this is from my own experience too, right? Of never catching up or chasing, you know? And then when there's that space of I choose or I choose not to, it does feel like you take your power back and you feel empowered and you feel your values and your beliefs and you feel grounded. So that's one of the things that I want to share. The second thing that I would love to share that I was thinking about earlier today was how she shared that our personalities and our soul Amber, love the song in the back. He's a great singer. Yeah, he totally is. My playlist is just playing too, so yeah. When I'm by myself, I sing this song like to my lungs. Like really, I become Adele in his lyrics or in his song. Okay, so the second thing that I would want to share, that I'd love to share, is, which for me was like an aha moment too, was that your personality, when your personality is aligned with your soul, you're aligned. Or when your personality connects with your soul, you're aligned. And you're able to move through this life with your purpose and your intention and with light. And yes. And she was sharing how when we hear the voices of our families or our friends of like the shoulds, we are disconnecting their personality from our soul. And the way that we walk on the path is ungrounded, and it could feel very misaligned and, in my own words, like chaotic. So I thought that was very interesting, and I totally resonated with that. Like, it makes sense. When I look back and I think about the things that I've done for my own purpose or my own alignment, or things that I really wanted to do and made me feel joyful and peaceful and happy, I could feel and sense how my personality and my soul were connected. And the times when I haven't, I do feel extremely disconnected. And even in that moment, I'm trying so desperately to try to like connect with myself again. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. If you guys have any questions or any comments, let me know. My partner's in the room and he's like behind the camera, so he's like making faces. Okay, so if you watch this afterwards, let me know what comes up for you, what arises, and even if you're watching right now, if you want to have a conversation about it, let me know, because I would love to talk about it. So yeah, just a little reminder to like ask yourself what you want to do. Ask yourself what you want to do and work on releasing like those shoulds and what other people expect of you. Because the other day I was mentioning to one of my friends too, where like I think that's one of the things that's so dangerous in life, where when we start to listen to other people's shoulds and expectations of what they have in our lives, like we really do not live our lives. We really do not live the purpose of our lives. We don't get to choose joy or peace, you know, because we're so busy trying to fulfill what everybody else expects of us with the shoulds too. And wherever you're at too, it's okay. Wherever you're at, there's so much things that are going on in that space in the background that you may not even realize that are totally working for your favor, even if it doesn't feel like it. And you are totally meant to be wherever you're at. And again, that's something that I struggled with, like coming back from abroad, where it's like, but I should be there, I want to go there, and why am I here? And the more I do this work with my therapist, the more I realize why I was meant to come back. And I share this all the time with my close friends. so there's totally a meant to be in that space. So much love, guys. I'm going to share the 2 prayers again that I shared at the beginning of this tea time. And you're so more than welcome to write it down and let me know if you want me to send it to you. So this is, let's see. Veronica said, yeah, it's like you're hearing them say you should, and then you consider like second guessing self, then you'll do it. But first, then by the time you know it, you're planning the should, but getting behind. Okay, let's see. So from what I understand from the comment is that when you hear the should, you second guess yourself, right? let me see. You feel more negative because you didn't complete those shoulds. Okay, so let me read this again, and then I'll see how I'm reading it. So Veronica said, yeah, it's like you're hearing them say you should, then you consider second guessing yourself, then you say you'll do it, but then by the time you know it, you're planning the should but getting behind, and then you feel more negative because you didn't complete those shoulds. Okay. As in, like, negative, do you feel guilty? Veronica said, sorry, so hard at the park and have a glare. It's okay. Thank you for tuning in and for sharing. I really appreciate that. Okay, so from what I'm understanding is, like, you hear the should and you consider it, and then when you consider it, like, you second guess yourself. And then you want to do what you want to do. But by the time you, let me see. By the time you know it, you're planning the should. Okay, so I'm gonna do this again. So this is what I'm getting, right? It's gonna be in different words, but is that you consider the should, and you also consider, like, maybe what you want, but you're second guessing yourself because you're listening to the should. And maybe by the time that you know that you're not listening to yourself, you're already planning the should, and you are getting behind. And you feel negative, maybe guilty, right? Maybe guilty because you're not completing the shoulds. Veronica said yes, but you're trying to have your plan and all of the boxes checked off. Okay. So it's kind of like trying to do everything at the same time. The shoulds and what you want. Because I can relate to that too, where you look at the should and you think about what you want to do and you do second guess yourself. And I feel like when we're doing this work of self-development, self-growth, and we're getting to know ourselves more, where sometimes that space of second guessing ourselves can be so mucky because we don't know how to listen to ourselves just yet. Where you go back and forth, back and forth. And then sometimes when you did the should or afterwards, there's this, like, guilt, or there's this feeling of disappointment. Like, it's like, even with family or friends, like, we don't want to disappoint them. We don't want to make them feel unhappy, or, like, we still want them to see us, to hear us. So we sometimes step into those shoulds with that expectation. And then because we did that, we feel, because it's like if we do that, there's like a little bit, in my own experience, a little bit of that instant gratification of, like, okay, cool, like, you're happy, like, and then later I realized, like, oh shit, but then again, like, I silenced myself and I didn't do what I wanted to do. Yeah. And then there's other times, right, where it goes like the other way around, where there's times where I didn't do those shoulds, or I didn't listen to them, and I didn't follow with their expectations, and I felt guilty because of it. And I feel in my head, because it's like, are they going to think that I'm a bad person? Are they going to think that I don't value, our relationship, our friendship, or their word? And then I feel guilty for it, where, I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if it makes sense. But then I've also realized with it too, where in the times when okay, cool. Veronica said exactly. But so it's something, again, that I'm still practicing in my own life. And one of the things that I've been realizing a lot is that in the moment when I act on the shoulds or the expectations of what people are asking of me, there is this instant gratification again, where I said of, okay, great, all cool. But then in the long term, I feel totally ungrounded. And even though they don't know what's going on, in my head, I'm like, fuck, I should have said this. Or again, with the should, right? Like, I'm replaying the scenario in my head and thinking about how I didn't stand my ground, or how I didn't speak up. And there is internal chaos in the long-term perspective. And then the times where I've practiced saying no, or the times where I've practiced not meeting those shoulds or those expectations of others, it feels chaotic for a moment, right? And there might be chaos too with them, and that feels shitty. But in the long term, there's so much peace within. There is so much contentment. And even in those moments, because I'm sure we all do this, where we go back and we think about like what was said and what was done and all this stuff. Looking back at it, there is this feeling of feeling proud of myself. Even if it caused an argument, even if it caused like external chaos for the time being, there's still a moment of feeling there's like a long-term feeling of I stood up for myself and I feel great and I feel empowered. And in that space, it's also like me getting to know myself and where I stand. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say with that. So hopefully that makes sense. But thank you, Veronica, for sharing. And it's hard too, because I always feel like there's always room for all of it. But where it's like, okay, maybe you can work on the shoulds and also like yourself. But I think just the concept of the should and the expectations, like a little contradiction, should not be here. Just kidding. But a little bit of like that should be worked on, because I think we'll drive ourselves crazy trying to do the shoulds and trying to also do what we want for ourselves. But yeah. Yeah, so much love, guys. Veronica, whenever I see your name or whenever I see photos of you and videos, I always think of you being such a great mom. Such a great mama. Just wanted to share that. I know I've said it before, but mwah, much love, guys. Let me share these 2 prayers. Yeah. So this is how it goes. So I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Yeah. And then the last prayer is this one, is trust me and don't be afraid. Do not be frightened by world events or news reports. These reports are biased, presented as if I do not exist. News clips show tiny bits of world events from which the most factor has been carefully removed. My presence in the world. As journalists sift through massive amounts of information, they straighten out everything about me and what I'm accomplishing on Earth. Whenever your world is feeling like a scary place, turn to me and encourage yourself in my presence. You also can find courage through remembering who I am. Ponder my awesome glory and power. Delight in my unfailing love. Rejoice that you are on an adventurous journey with me, and your ultimate destination is heaven. As you keep focusing on me and enjoying the rich relationship I offer you, fear will subside and joy will rise within you. Trust in me wholeheartedly, beloved, for I am your strength and your song. So yeah, much love, guys. I hope you guys have a beautiful Thursday.